Okay. All right, I'm making this. All right. Here we go. The first ever episode of the Lineup Legends podcast. Tucker, what's going on?
Hey man, how's it doing?
It's
Uh,
doing well.
good. Early in the morning here, but I have not been more excited to wake up, I think, ever. This is I'm super hyped to talk about some football.
So basically, for anyone who may be watching this, if somehow that ever happens,
It could happen.
um, Tucker and I have been friends since middle school. We've been in the same fantasy football league since 8th grade, and we constantly text about fantasy. So we figured, what a better way to get it all out of our system than on a podcast?
Yeah, this is gonna be super fun. We're real excited to just hang out, talk about football, and if we come up with some good statistics, good numbers, so be it.
Yeah, and we're both avid listeners to fantasy podcasts. So I think there's a few things I want us to do differently than I hear on, a lot of the podcasts that I listen to. But before I talk about that, what do you kind of want the vibe of this podcast to be?
So I think just really fun. I think we bring a lot of like energy and uh, chutzpah to our takes, and I think it's going to be super fun to just go back and forth on what we agree on, what we disagree on, what we think is going to happen in the future, and then just bludgeon each other with different insults once one of us is correct and the other's wrong. So I think
I
it's going to
really
be a really
think
fun
there's
time.
going to be, I think there's going to be a lot we disagree on, and I'm excited for it. There's one of the things that I think I want our podcast to be different is I think a lot of fantasy shows are like so set on not being wrong that they don't really stray from kind of the consensus. Like they just kind of agree with a lot of the takes out there that are like pretty common. Whereas I think you and I are pretty prone to like being really into our takes, like ride or die for certain players. So I'm excited for us to actually commit to those takes, whether they're part of the status quo or not. Because I think that's a little different. Sometimes it annoys me when
Right.
shows kind of just go with the flow.
Right. So, like for last year, for instance, I was all in on Albert Wilson. Like the entire season, I was so sure Albert Wilson was the guy. He was not the guy. But I made so many bets on Albert Wilson because I was sure. So I think it's gonna be
Like
stuff like that, like just ridiculous things. Yes, I made bets on Albert Wilson.
like
They didn't
financial
even.
bets.
I lost money on Albert Wilson, but I'm
Oh,
excited for stuff like that. And I think that's what's going to happen more or less. Hopefully not. Hopefully, I win money this year, but we'll see.
the fact that you lost any dollars that weren't fab dollars means anyone listening to this right now should just shut it off.
I was about to say we just lost anyone listening for actual fantasy football statistic content.
We had a good run, we really did.
This is
But
a good try. This is a good try.
yeah, so I think sticking to our bold takes needs to be like a signature piece of the show. Just like going all in on, the takes that we feel strongly about. And also just having a good time. Sometimes I think a lot of the shows I listen to, it's like people are robotic. Like I
Mm.
don't know if you pick up on the same thing too,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
man, this is fantasy football. Let's just have fun with it. Like I think sometimes people take it a little too seriously, and I think it should be taken seriously with a ton of fun because that's what it's all about.
Definitely, definitely. All right, so today we're gonna get down into the nitty gritty of the games that we got to watch this past week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where are we starting, Steven?
Let's kick it off with let's kick it off with Eagles Steelers
Eagles,
because
Steelers.
I have a big thing that I know we're gonna have to hash out that we haven't discussed, and I'm excited to get into it with you because
Oh,
this
I
game was
know you're
interesting for a
excited.
few.
Uh,
All right,
so,
so
so
any
before
big
this game, let's be clear. Before this game, Steven talking to me about Deontay Johnson and
mhm,
how
mhm.
great Deontay Johnson's gonna be. What is it? For his first play of the game, hurt injury.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and Steven loses. I is he your guy? Is that like you're pretty in on Deontay Johnson, or you at least were
I'm
until
still all in on Deontay
Chase
Johnson.
Claypool went off.
All right, so let's waste no time. Let's just get into that
I'm
because
getting
that's what
into
this
it,
is
man.
about.
I'm
So,
excited about this.
I'm all in on Deontay Johnson. I think he's the Steelers wide receiver one. They have Juju in the slot. Juju's always gonna be a part of their offense, but we saw Deontay Johnson get 24 targets for through his first 2 weeks. His only two full games he's played, 24 targets between two games, led the team by far. And unfortunately, he's dealt with a few injuries. He had the concussion. He has a lingering foot injury that he's been dealing with. And then this week, killing me. I bench Raheem Mostert for him, and then he goes out basically the first play of the game with I think a blow to the back or something like that. And then what happens after that, Tucker?
After that, Chase Claypool goes off for 4 touchdowns. He gets 11 targets, 8 receptions for over 100 yards. I mean, 110 yards. Yeah. He even gets 3 rushing attempts. I mean, the guy is a fiend. The guy's a fiend. You know me. I was all in on Martavis Bryant while he was in. Okay, so this guy reminds me of Martavis Bryant, but not dealing with the other problems. This guy's insane. He's huge. I mean, he's just a fiend. I mean, he even like Juju didn't do hardly anything. I mean, Juju 5 targets, four catches for 28 yards, no scores. I mean, Connor was okay on the ground, but like Claypool carried this offense, and I don't see a reason why he shouldn't continue to do so.
Now, this I'm about to ask you the question that I really hope your answer isn't what I'm expecting it to be. But knowing you, I feel like it is. Do you think Chase Claypool is the new wide receiver one for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I don't think he is. I still think it's
Okay.
Juju. I still think it's Juju. Could he be? Yeah. I mean, like I could see. I don't think he's going to score 4 touchdowns a week. Obviously, that's like a once in a long time type thing. He may never do it again. Probably won't ever do it again. It's just statistically unlikely for a receiver to do that. But could I see him come back next week and still get 10, 11 targets and 7, 8 catches for 100? Yeah, I could see him do that. I don't see why not. Tell me a reason why not. Deontay Johnson probably out again. I mean, if he was out for the entire game, why would he just come back next week?
That's up in the air. That's up in the air. Because he had his helmet on the sideline, and after the game, I think Tomlin sounded like there was a chance he could play Week 6 against the Browns. I think it is. So wait to be seen on that. But I agree with you. Claypool, extremely talented, showed a lot of promise in that game. His breakout game for sure. But obviously the 4 touchdowns is great. It was a great game. Don't get me wrong. But I think this has a bigger impact on James Washington than it does on Deontay Johnson or Juju Smith-Schuster. I think Chase Claypool is basically just cementing himself further into that second out wide receiving spot. You have Juju in the slot, Deontay and Claypool out wide. I think that's how they're going to roll now. I think James Washington hasn't really done anything super significant with his snaps, whereas Claypool comes in, first opportunity is given against Darius Slay, puts up 7 catches, over 100 yards, 4 TDs on 11 targets. I think we're not going to see Deontay Johnson suddenly drop off. I think we're going to see James Washington seeing fewer and fewer opportunities.
So you're seeing Claypool as more of like the third wide receiver option on that team at this point.
Well, as you know, I think Deontay Johnson is the first option, and then I think between Juju and Claypool, maybe it'll be sort of a 2A, 2B situation.
Interesting and incorrect take. Very interesting and incorrect. All right. So, go ahead.
Okay, if you're this big on him and he's on your waiver wire, how much fab are you dropping?
I mean, it depends on how wide receiver needy I am, obviously. I think this season you want to hold on to a little bit more for running backs just because of all the injuries. But, I mean, 40%, maybe 30, 40%. I mean, he's a big player. He could be a serious game changer. I mean, say he does not necessarily this, but something similar to this every week, and that's a wide receiver one easily. So, not 4 touchdowns, obviously, but just the other stat line, the yards, the catches, which are entirely, at least a little bit more possible. Because, I mean, if he gets those targets and he gets 7 catches, that's, 80 to 100 yards just based on catches, which is a lot of points. I mean, it's a lot of points. And yeah, that's where I'm sitting right now.
I think I view him similar to Justin Jefferson, as in
Mm,
going to be not the first option in the offense, but there's going to be plenty of volume to where Claypool could have big games here and there. Not I'm not putting him in wide receiver one territory by any means, but I think $40+ I'd be down to slap down on Claypool, especially if Deontay Johnson ends up missing time. I think that's something to monitor. So,
right, right.
uh, rest of season, who would you rather have, Justin Jefferson or Chase Claypool?
Claypool for sure, for sure.
Okay.
Not even close. I don't want a piece of the Vikings offense unless his name is Dalvin Cook and he's not injured. Um, I was burned by Adam Thielen last year. I still don't like Kirk Cousins as a quarterback and the passing volume there. They still want to run the ball. So, I mean, we're getting into Vikings a little bit, but Claypool. Listen, I've just seen what they can do with a Martavis Bryant on that team. I'm telling you, I'm all in for that reason. You know, I loved Martavis Bryant, but he gives you similar vibes, man. He does, and you're not going to see a player get 4 touchdowns, all that hype. I mean, like everyone hyped him up. You're not going to see a player get all that hype, and then the Steelers just go, nah, we don't really need to give him the ball next week.
That's fair. That's fair. I agree. I think he's warranted more touches at the expense of James Washington. Okay, so I think if we spent this much time on every game, we'd be here for a while. But I like this of kind of picking maybe one hot topic per game we want to discuss and just glazing over anything else. I mean, is there anything else in this game that you want to talk about? I don't think we need to recap as much as are there any noteworthy topics here moving forward?
Just on the other side, really like Travis Fulgham's performance for the Eagles. I thought he was. I mean, I thought he should be talked about pretty equally with not necessarily with Claypool, I guess, but like just under Claypool, he had a lot of targets, 13, I think. Um, and then and then Zach Ertz on the other side of the ball too is just abysmal, just abysmal.
Ertz is done, man. Six targets, put up one catch for 6 yards. Like I
One
just think
catch.
he's
And
gonna.
a lot of that's Wentz. I mean, 9 interceptions throughout 5 games is horrible. Put in Jalen Hurts, please. Um,
They
but
did for one play. That was sweet.
and it was a completion, shocker.
Yeah,
A really good one too.
yeah.
But yeah, Ertz, like I don't know, is Ertz droppable? I like
Not droppable, but with Goddard going down, you would have thought that Ertz was gonna be a monster, just a complete target hog, putting up numbers, top five numbers, and he's been getting targets. Not nearly as many as maybe we thought without Goddard, but he still hasn't been doing anything at all with them. So,
right.
I mean, I don't think he's droppable, but man, if I had Ertz, I'd probably be. If I had just any decent option outside of him, I'd be starting that other option.
At the very least, try to get like a tiny bit of name value in a trade, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not looking good. Okay, moving on.
All right, I'll let you pick the next game.
Oh, what do we want to do? We want to do Cardinals Jets.
Cardinals Jets. Let's roll with it.
Sure.
This one's gonna hit a little bit close to home. I in that deal for Deontay Johnson got rid of Jamison Crowder, who decides to go Calvin Johnson and put up another another game of over 100 yards and a touchdown. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, eight catches, looks like 10 targets. I mean, he looks really good. He really does. I hate to say it because like I just hate the Jets. I think they're so bad as a team, but Jamison Crowder seems to be the one bright spot there. I mean, he's had a lot of productive games aside from the one he missed. He missed one, right?
Yeah, he missed. He had a hamstring injury. I believe he missed 2 games.
Two games.
Yeah. So Crowder being the slot in a Gase offense, he's just gonna get peppered with targets. Having seen him last season, like he's off to a hot start, but when that Jets offense isn't going, no pieces of it are getting production. So I think that it's a little bit tough with him. I think he's going to be getting constantly targeted, but you just got to hope that the Jets offense keeps going at even just a decent level because when nothing's happening for them, Crowder isn't even going to get fed. So I think the floor he has a solid floor, but I think his upside is pretty limited being in that offense.
Yeah, especially with their massive run game with Frank Gore. Um, hey, I mean, things might change when Adam Gase inevitably loses his job. We will see.
Apparently, they're giving him the rest of the season, so
Yeah,
they're
we'll
good.
see. We'll see.
I read like a thorough report in the Athletic, and apparently management, not so much as necessarily he's earned it, but basically this would be, I believe, I'm not positive on this, but they don't want to fire him mid-season because it's going to turn away potential coaching candidates. For it's like, all right, well, how much time am I really going to get to turn this thing around? They don't want to be known as a franchise that gives you, what, 20 games and
Yeah,
change.
I've seen something like that, but I just at the same time, franchises typically listen to their fans, so we will see. We will see. There's
I'll
no way
bet
Jets fans are happy.
I bet you Gase survives the whole season. We'll have it here on tape. I'm 100% confident Adam Gase won't get fired before the end of the season.
It they deserve to lose every game. All right, the Cardinals side of the ball.
Yeah.
um,
Any
it's Kyler Murray doing Kyler Murray things, Hopkins doing Hopkins things. I think the most interesting part here is probably the run game.
Yeah, I think this was the last week I kind of had faith, a little bit of faith left in Kenyon Drake. Like 60 yards and a touchdown, great, but next to nothing in the passing game. Chase Edmonds puts up 5 catches for 56 yards compared to Drake's 1 catch for 2 yards. Chase Edmonds 3 carries, 36 yards. Kenyon Drake 18 for 60. I think this is just developing into a timeshare, and I don't think Drake looks explosive enough right now to be efficient with his touches to where he's anything close to what people were drafting him as.
Right, right. I would agree 100% there. I mean, Edmonds seems to be the guy you want to own, especially in PPR formats. Obviously, that's probably the only place you want to own him. But Drake is just, I mean, he's all run and not a lot of yards on those runs. I mean, he's not getting targets. It's just kind of ugly for him. You're pretty touchdown dependent, and you're not going to get him every week because he's so much less efficient than Chase Edmonds in the red zone. I mean, Edmonds, I don't know, like he is literally like a heat-seeking missile where he finds the end zone, and Drake doesn't. Like he looked bad in the end zone. And plus, you got Kyler Murray limiting upside there too, because I mean, 5 rushing touchdowns in 5 weeks. That's more than Drake.
Yep, and I think Edmonds can just keep carving out a role for him if it seems like he's kind of secured the passing down role, which is going to be more valuable considering Kenyon Drake hasn't exactly locked up a goal line role. So yeah, I think moving forward, I don't even think I was thinking Kenyon Drake was a buy low a couple weeks ago, but at this point, I don't want to buy him. I think if you have him, you got to hold him
Right,
because anything you sell him for is just not going to be enough. Um,
right.
I think you just have to hold and maybe play him as a flex.
All right, all right. What's your next game, Steven?
Next game, let's move on to let's knock out Bears Buccaneers. Thursday
Bears
night football.
Buccaneers, Thursday night
Yeah.
football. Thursday night football, yeah. Um, Brady with 41 pass attempts. That's the first thing I saw, and I was like, wow, all right, that seems like a lot for the old guy.
Did you see? He walked straight off the field. He refused to shake hands with Nick Foles. Thought that
Can
was
you
pretty
blame him
wild.
though? That was a miserable game.
I
Like
can
just
blame him, man. If you come on, like first of all, it's kind of on you. He didn't know which down it was. It would appear on the field, even though Bruce. You saw that, right?
yeah, he looked in the screen and he was like
Yeah.
4.
Bruce Arians said Tom knew what down it was, but clearly didn't. And then like he's been in the league forever. Like
Yeah, yeah.
have the
He's
class to
got
shake Nick Foles' hands, man. Like
he should have more class. You sorry. I'm a if anyone ever watches us, this is gonna take him off right here. I don't love Brady as a player, and so seeing him at the Buccaneers is just kind of funny to me, and it's I don't know. I think it's proving what he's kind of been the entire time, but under Belichick's system. Um,
yeah, I think that's been the most interesting question is all right, is how much of their success in New England was Brady and how much was Belichick? And is now Brady older to the point where we'll never really know? You know what I
Maybe we'll
mean? Like
never
maybe
know.
he
That's the thing. That's the thing. Maybe we'll never know. I mean, clearly he's forgetting what down he's on. You know, He's getting old, man. He's
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
hey, it's still
Anything?
good enough for
Yeah,
Mike Evans though. Still good enough for Mike Evans.
yeah.
9 targets, 5 receptions, 41 yards, a touchdown, which is absolutely playable. I mean, that's good enough for me.
You'll take it. You'll take it. Jimmy Graham,
Um,
decent week at tight end. He's just pretty much become, I think, like a touchdown dependent high end tight end too. I think people kind of were getting a little too hype on him for a little bit there, and I think they're gonna get excited, obviously, about any tight end options. But I view him
right.
as a high end tight end too that you can plug in if you're desperate. But I don't think he's the Jimmy Graham of old, even though that one handed catch was actually insane
Yeah,
against the Bucks.
nuts. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it looks like all the targets are going to Allen Robinson. I mean, 16 targets, 10 catches, 90 yards. That's exactly what you want from that guy. I mean, that's what he was drafted for, and he's looking good, man. He's looking really good as I mean, wide receiver one option.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the last thing, but aside from this, nothing else really jumps out at me here. But I think the last thing I want to touch on is it seems like they're just going with David Montgomery in the Tariq Cohen role. I mean, he had what? Oh yeah, 7 catches for 30 yards on 8 targets. Like that. That's
Right,
really boosting his value. That's an extra. That's an extra 10 points in PPR just even without the touchdown tacked on top. He wasn't exactly getting it down on the ground. 2.9 yards a carry. So
right.
I think having this receiving floor moving forward as well means Montgomery's got a lot more value than he did
Oh yeah, I'm
since Tariq
loving
Cohen went down.
Montgomery if that's what he's getting every week. I mean, you don't see a lot of running backs getting 8 targets, 7 catches. I mean, that's great, and that's a guy I want to play. That's a guy I want to play every week.
So David Montgomery, we quickly to our fans want to introduce bad or good, our segment where we simply put this player rest of season, are they bad or are they good? And I think that it feels oversimplified, but it's really not, because I think when you look at a player and you're looking at like who do I want to trade for, who are these players I'm seeing on other teams in my league, you pretty much know when you see that player. It's like, do I want them or do I not? Are they gonna help me more than they hurt me? Is it someone I want on my team, or is it someone that is just okay, maybe I'll keep them on my bench to take up space, but it's not someone you're excited about. So good or bad simply dictates, is this a player we want on our team for the rest of the year, or is this someone who's just going to hurt you more than they help you and they aren't worth holding? So David Montgomery, good or bad? I guess on three we'll do a thumbs up and a thumbs down, whichever one
Yeah.
you
I like
think.
that. I like that. I like
All
that.
right, let's go. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
I think before I would have said no, because I don't think he's a necessarily an exceptional runner.
Hmm.
But wow, the getting that many catches in the Tariq Cohen role, as well as the groundwork, and he's definitely going to get the goal line work too. I think I could see him being a really solid RB2 the rest of the way.
I mean, yeah, they just have no one else, and he's gonna get receptions. And receptions, I mean, receptions are king as always. So
Okay. Well, I think after this, we should take it to a game where there's a player we're going to disagree about when it comes to the backfield. Let's talk about Bengals Ravens,
sure.
which
Um,
seemed to be a bit of a wake up call for Joe Burrow. Tough Ravens defense was knocking them all over the place. Sacked
mhm.
7 times.
Yeah, that was a rough one for him. Lamar on the other side, also not great. Just 3 rushing yards. You're not gonna. I mean, it limits his upside that he had last year. You know, he had all those rushing touchdowns. He hasn't been running the ball as much. You know, it just hasn't looked great. I want him to return to what he did last year, but
Oh, trust me, I do too. As my keeper from last year, it's killing me. I don't know what's going on with Lamar. You have there's a mix of things. Sometimes they're blowing out teams, and RG3 comes in to finish the game. Sometimes he can't get anything going through the air. I mean, he had 180 passing yards in this one, and then sometimes he looks like the Lamar Jackson of old. He had that 50-yard touchdown last week. That was sweet.
mhm.
But man, he's killing me, and I just don't understand exactly what's going on. Like, is it people had a year of tape to scheme for him? I really don't know. It seems like he's just missing throws more. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, honestly, it's not. It doesn't seem like it's been quite as accurate. He looked a little bit better, like throwing this game. I would say. You know, he hit Mark Andrews. He hit Hollywood Brown, the people you want him to throw it to in the end zone, which is good.
Mhm.
Do you see him as a QB1 still this time?
Yeah, 100%. I
Just
think
making sure.
Lamar's
Just making sure.
I think he's still a top five quarterback. Like I think he will
Yeah.
right the ship. Yeah, we saw it for a whole season last year. We know it's not a fluke. There was an expected regression because of his insane touchdown rate last year. Like we knew
Hmm.
regression was coming, but not to. I wasn't expecting it to this extent. Like he's putting up subpar numbers overall. Like it's not like he's just a little worse than last year. He's not putting up numbers even close to last year.
Right.
So
Need him to pick it up a little bit next week just to build some confidence, hopefully. But um,
yeah, I'm not
for
benching him.
sure.
I'm not replacing him. But
Right.
I refuse to say temper expectations because I hate when people say that. It just seems like just playing in the middle. But I think he will return to fantasy significance. He's a top five quarterback. I stand by that. He will finish as a top five quarterback. I'm
Fair
confident.
enough. I can get behind that. I can get behind that. Speaking of a mixed bag, however, Joe Mixon. Steven, let me hear your thoughts on Joe Mixon.
Joe Mixon is a locked-in top 10 running back the rest of the season. Tell me where I said a lie in that statement. I know you have for some
uh,
reason you refuse to believe in Joe Mixon, but he is a locked-in top 10 running back the rest of the season.
all right. So I'll tell you where you told a lie in that statement, and it's the entire statement. A locked in top 10.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. All right. All right. So clearly we don't even need to do the bad or good thumbs up here.
Wait. Actually, really quick, I just so I can screen record this down the road in 6 weeks. Joe Mixon, good or bad? One, two, three. That is Tucker. You're pulling like a Skip Bayless right now, man. You
Listen,
explain yourself.
listen. Joe Mixon, he's going to be good enough. He's going to be serviceable, okay? But top 10 is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, okay? Listen, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. He's had a good week this season, okay? In the past 2 weeks, he's had a lot of receptions. I'll give you that. I don't think he's going to stick there. I don't see it happening because he didn't do it all last season. He didn't do it the first 3 weeks this season. And it hasn't really changed much when he did start catching the ball for the team, okay, for the team. I think a lot of it has been Joe Burrow checking down, obviously, but he's going to start getting more comfortable the more he plays, and he's going to throw more to T. Higgins, throw more to Tyler Boyd. And the biggest part for me, okay, is Joe Mixon's schedule the rest of the season, okay? He's got Indianapolis, Cleveland, who's been pretty good against the run, Pittsburgh twice, Washington, who's got a great front seven on defense. And, I mean, it's like his schedule just doesn't look good, and those teams are going to hammer Joe Burrow. They're going to hammer Joe Mixon. He's also been highly ineffective running the ball, 3.7 yards a carry, which is less than he had last year and the year before that, where he just wasn't very good. I don't like Joe Mixon. I just don't see it.
Okay, I totally agree about the schedule. He's got a tough schedule, and I think 2 weeks ago I would have agreed with you that because of the schedule, he's not gonna be a top 10 running back. But
Wait, so
consider
you're saying,
this:
hold on, you were won over by his good week against Jacksonville? Is that what you're saying?
I was wondering. Oh no, not at all. Actually, I was one. I was one. I mean, yeah, that did help. But I was one. The main thing. The main thing.
Wow.
The main thing that's got me hooked is this. In the first 3 weeks of the season, the main thing holding him back was he was a two-down back. The Bengals refused to use him in the passing game. He wasn't. He wasn't. He was being subbed out for Giovanni Bernard in 2-minute situations, obvious passing downs, everything. Since then, they've completely unleashed Joe Mixon in the passing game. I mean, this week he had 8 targets, 6 catches for 35 yards. That's almost 10 extra points in a PPR league on top of getting 24 carries. And that's not even out of his normal range. He had 25 carries last week, 17, 16, 19 the 3 weeks before. He's getting more and more involved, and even if he struggles on the ground behind that O-line and against tough defenses, I mean, Baltimore was a tough defense this week, still put up 15 and a half points in PPR because of that involvement in the passing game. I think I think he'd be much a elite Sony Michel without the passing game involvement to where he's not that exciting and he's going to struggle against a tough defense. But with the passing game involvement on a team with a rookie quarterback that likes to check down, that's going to be playing from behind all the time, I dare you to name 10 running backs you would take rest of season above Joe Mixon. Because you can't. Because once you think about it and you realize there's just not 10 guys out there. I get the hesitation, but getting 20 to 25 carries a week and 5+ targets, I'll take that against any defense as an RB1 rest of the way. Because no one's getting that kind of kind of volume.
He's got the volume for RB2, and I'll give you that. But I think
RB2?
RB2 is where he's at. I think he'll get some RB1 weeks. I just don't see him as an RB1. Like, I just don't. I mean, majority of the weeks, I think he's gonna be RB2. He doesn't have. It's just he's on a bad offense and he's not productive with it. I mean, he had like 2-point-something yards a carry this week. I understand he's getting catches, but he's not going to get 6 catches a week. That's just. I mean, he's not. I mean, the moment he has any slight 4, I think, but probably 3 average, because that's, I mean, above what he's normally getting. You know, like most of his career, he's had less than 3. I think 3 receptions a game. I mean, it's just I don't know. I just can't be. I can't be all in on it. I got to see it happen again, and I think maybe just maybe you're riding the high of a good Jacksonville performance. I just.
I just think. Listen, with all the work he's getting, I think he's a lock for 60 yards, 3 to 4 catches, 40 receiving yards, and potentially a touchdown in each game.
He's found the end zone 1 time. Well, 3 times, but all in one game. All in one game.
Yeah, all in one game. I think he's gonna get more opportunities. He's their goal line guy. No one's competing. I'll challenge you to this. I want you to name 10 running backs rest of the season. You'll take over him while I plug in my charger.
Deal. Here we go.
No, like
I'm pulling some up. Actually, hang on.
Okay, hold on. One sec. Pause.
Easy. So easy.
All right, that's all the time I'm giving you. I know you're gonna realize.
All right.
You're gonna realize that they're gonna be picking out guys like
Kamara,
Damian Harris,
Aaron Jones,
okay,
Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott,
sure.
Chris Carson, James Robinson, Kareem Hunt. Let's see. What am I at? 7. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Mike Davis / Christian McCaffrey.
You can't pick 2 running backs.
But they're like the same thing.
Right,
Hopefully,
okay, fine. I get it.
All right. Let's see. What am I at? 9. Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
That's 10.
Name 2 more. Name 2 more.
All right. Oh, Derrick Henry. There we go. Derrick Henry and James Conner.
Okay.
Boom.
And probably Miles Sanders too.
And Miles Sanders, yeah.
So you have Mixon at what, RB13?
Sure. Yeah, we'll give him 13. Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean, Eckler when he comes back, but and Chubb when he comes back.
You're killing me. Conversation for another time. We'll handle that in 6 to.
This will last way too long if we keep going.
But let it be known that Mixon is a top 10 running back the rest of the week. This is a take. I'll follow my own sword. I'm confident that this is true. So all right, I think we've talked enough. I honestly don't have anything else to say about that game. Do you, Tucker?
Yeah, we can move on.
All right, I'll let you go ahead and pick the next one.
All right, we'll go.
I'm frustrated. That just pissed me off a little bit. Like 20 to 25 carries a game, and maybe in between 3 and 5 targets in the passing game. That is elite RB1 usage.
It is elite RB1 usage. The production's not there.
He had 42 PPR points last week.
1 week.
16 this week against a tough Ravens
Jacksonville.
defense.
And he's not going to get another Jacksonville matchup. It's not happening.
He has Houston in the fantasy championships week 16. I mean,
week 16 if you make it. And who's he got the week before, Steven? Who's he got the week before? Pittsburgh. Get out of here. All right.
On to the next game.
All right. This one makes me sad. The Chiefs Raiders. Chiefs go down to the Raiders. Go ahead, Steven, talk about it.
This one surprised me. Honestly, I wasn't following this game while it was being played. Uh, I can't believe that the Raiders actually won that game. Watching it back after the game, like it made sense. The Raiders are making big plays. I feel like they normally don't play. Like I think it helped to have Ruggs back. He had that deep touchdown.
Mm.
Um, Mahomes threw an uncharacteristic pick. Um, Outside of that, I mean, what here's my main takeaway from this game is like, what the heck? I thought this was a smash spot for CEH. I think we've been waiting for his explosive breakout RB1 game, like elite
Right,
RB1 or at least like top 10.
right.
He only had 10 carries in this one, three catches, less than Joe Mixon, but who's counting. Uh, and honestly, yeah, I thought this was a great opportunity for him to kind of have that breakout game in a game where tons of points were scored, and he doesn't even get in the end zone. So, what's your take on CEH? Because I came into the season with him as top five, top six running back,
Hmm.
and I considered him in coming into this week as like a super enticing buy low candidate. But now I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. Like, what? I just don't know why he's not seeing kind of the volume that maybe we were expecting him to see.
Yeah, so I think for whatever reason, this week and the last week was just not a good Chiefs offense week for whatever reason. Outside of Travis Kelsey putting up what 108 and a touchdown. Um, Tyreek Hill didn't look that good either. I think it was just not a great offensive game for the Chiefs. It's not a lot of times where they're coming from behind more or less. I think the Raiders scored first, and unless it's the playoffs, apparently the Chiefs don't really do well in that situation. Um, but CEH I still like as a buy low. I think his production will come. He hasn't really found the end zone. I don't know if he's found it at all, but he's still getting that goal line work. I think he had a couple attempts to get in the end zone. It just didn't happen, but he will get in the end zone eventually. Um, if you ask me what the difference between him and Joe Mixon is, I'd tell you the offense, and
That's
that's
fair.
more or less it. But otherwise, they're getting similar usage. Except 10 carries this game was not a great look for CEH, but I think he'll bounce back. I don't even know who they've got next week, but but I mean that offense is going to bounce back as a whole. I think Tyreek, while he had a nice rushing touchdown to save his fantasy day, he didn't have a great day. I mean, 78 yards, sure, but three catches isn't ideal. But I think the Chiefs will bounce back as a whole, and it'll look a lot better on CEH next week.
Yeah, it looked like Tyreek was on his way to a big game in that first half, and then
Mm-hmm.
we didn't see much else from him. But honestly, nothing else here I really want to talk about. I think, pretty much par for the course. Travis Kelsey put up numbers. Raiders, Ruggs is interesting moving forward. But I think nothing else really, unless you want to touch on anything here.
Real quick question: Ruggs, good or bad? One,
Oh, this
two.
is a good. Wait, I need a second. I need a second. Okay, I got it. All right.
All right.
One,
One, two,
two,
three.
three. Bad.
Ah,
Ruggs good.
interesting. I
Okay.
say good. I say good. I think he had a lot more targets before this week. Well, not a lot more, but like week one he had I think five. Right. This week he had those might have been his two catches. But I think he's going to get more moving forward. I think they're going to have a receiver they can depend on, and they're going to have to find a receiver they can use. And week back after injury, I think he's going to get more targets, more catches, and yeah. And he's gonna get. I honestly think he can get a touchdown every week with that deep threat. I mean, he's so fast. He's unbelievably fast. So
Yeah, I think I no question about the talent. The good or bad is never about the talent. It's about, is this someone I'm like wanting on my fantasy team is going to help me more than they hurt me? I don't
I
think
think he's a
so. So
great bench player. Great bench player. Any week you can feel at least somewhat comfortable putting him in the lineup, thinking maybe I can get a touchdown out of this, and he can save whatever spot, whatever bye week my guy had. I think he could definitely save that spot. So
I think for me, Derek Carr just spreads the ball around too much for it to be
mm,
a situation where I think Ruggs is going to be reliable. I think you'll get the occasional deep shot, and it's like, bam, maybe he gets a couple of those in one game, and he's a week winner. but I think week to week I'm gonna have a hard time putting him in my lineup. I don't know when Brian Edwards gets back, but I think that'll be even furthered when Edwards gets back. But with Waller in that offense, with Derek Carr kind of spreading the ball all over the place, I mean Nelson Aguilar got involved this week. I think he had a touchdown. For me, it's kind of I'm not super bought in. I'm bought into the talent, but I'm not bought into the opportunity to where I'm like dying to have him on my team.
Yeah, we'll
But
see. I'm not gung ho on my good, but that's where I'm at right now.
yeah, I think we're both closer to the middle. But
Yeah.
as we've said, we want to take a firm stance. I'm out on him as someone I'm dying to have on my team, but I understand why you'd want him on your
Yeah,
team.
as a Bama guy, I've seen the talent. I'm going to be in on Ruggs. I'm going to be in on
Okay,
Ruggs.
respect.
Waller
Okay,
Kelsey obviously locked in tight end ones. I mean, start him every week.
yeah, for sure.
Moving on.
Let's talk. Let's talk Seattle versus the Vikings.
Seattle versus Vikings, Sunday Night Football, baby.
Which this one was actually a pretty crazy game. The main thing I want to talk about here is I just want to bring this up. Dalvin Cook goes down with an injury, comes back in for one play. I think he was just a decoy on that play. I don't know what that means for his status going forward. If that means like, okay, maybe he's going to be good for next week because they were okay
Right.
to bring him back in for that play. I was reading it could be a multi-week injury, maybe like a week-to-week kind of thing, but there hasn't been anything like officially said. But glad to have Alexander Madison. People who prepared for that are probably pretty happy to have been, prepped with a backup plan. Here's the reason. I think Madison, like, even seeing him play tonight, topping 100 yards, hit a league high in rushing yards, or not league high, a career high in rushing yards. I think he's such a valuable handcuff because the Kubiak offense just is super, super profitable for running backs. Like, holes are always opening up. The scheme is just so good. And on top of that, Alexander Madison is a top of the league backup running back talent. And finally, Kubiak has shown that when he likes to have one guy, they'll spell Cook with Madison here and there, even when Cook's healthy. But we saw even when Cook went down this game, it was all Alexander Madison. Mike Boone had I think 2 carries. He looked good on those
Yeah.
carries, but it was all Alexander Madison. And I think that that's just where you cash in on this handcuff is he's going to get most of the work at running back. He's a good running back, and that offensive scheme is so good for running backs. To where I think he's not the talent that Dalvin Cook is, but I think it's not the biggest step down week to week. You're not super upset that you're plugging out Alexander Madison in. I think it's more of like that could have been a disaster. Me losing Dalvin Cook and not having a backup option. So I think if Cook is out, Madison's going to be great moving forward, and people who had him on their roster are finally feeling the benefit
Yes.
of how painful it is to have a handcuff and have it, never feel worth it.
Yeah, definitely. If Dalvin Cook loses time, Alexander Madison, I mean, he's a great running back. I think he's he could be a starter somewhere, honestly, I think. I think he's
For
going to be
sure.
great. I think he's going to be great if Dalvin Cook is out. That being said, if you have one of these guys who is getting carries and a lot of carries, the majority of the carries for their team, and they are an RB1, Zeke, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon, I guess, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, you should have their handcuff on your team. If you don't, your fantasy season is in jeopardy. I had Eckler, I had Chubb, I didn't have any of their backups, and toast. You want to be ready for that, especially this season. It's not a good year for running backs, and you want to be prepared for that. So I'm glad you had Madison to pick up for Dalvin Cook there.
I think the big difference between backing up Madison with a handcuff and picking up someone like Giovanni Bernard as your handcuff to Joe Mixon is that just exactly what I was talking about just now is Madison versus Bernard is just a world of a difference in talent, whereas I don't even bother keeping Bernard on my bench because they probably split up touches in that backfield if Mixon goes down because they've never had Bernard be, the full workhorse. They'd probably
During injury, they 100% have. I mean, I've seen Bernard be really good during a Joe Mixon injury.
True. Yeah, that's true.
And especially a guy like Tony Pollard, I think. I mean,
the guys who are talented like that, and in like good offenses.
Yeah, in good offenses, I agree. See, Mixon, I'm not even going to have him on my team, so I don't have to worry about getting Giovanni Bernard. But people like Pollard, people like I hesitate to say like Benny Snell, but maybe like Benny Snell. So I was burned really hard early in the season. Spent a lot of money
Yeah.
on Benny Snell. Didn't work out.
Yeah, but no, I agree. I think this is just a lesson in handcuffing. We'll see if Cook misses time, but go out there and get your guys handcuffed, and if you want to make an upside play, get some other guy's handcuffed, someone you don't even know. Get Tony Pollard if
Right,
he's on your
right.
waiver, even if you don't own Elliott. I think that's an upside play. And outside of that, and especially given where time is at right now, I'm fine moving on. Except DK Metcalf's a beast. I mean, that guy's a
DK Metcalf's a beast. I mean, enough said. Enough said.
yeah, the absolute beast. Okay, I'll let you pick the next game.
All right. Let's do Giants Cowboys. Obviously Dak goes down. That's the big news from that game.
I want him to break every single record in the book next year. I love Dak. I hate seeing him go down. He's been through so much, and man, you hate to see that for him.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty horrific ankle injury. I'm for sure going to be out for season, I assume, which probably changes a lot of fantasy outlooks for a lot of the players on that team.
Yeah, I think if I have any Cowboys receivers, I'm trying to bail out. That might be bold. Maybe Andy Dalton can keep. Maybe so much of it is baked into the offensive scheme that things keep clicking to a degree. But I'd be trying to get rid of these guys kind of high while you can, because I don't think Andy Dalton's going to be able to support that kind of volume that Dak Prescott was. Of course, I think Zeke will get a lot more involvement. I think they'll go a little bit heavier on the run, but I kind of would be trying to sell pieces like Amari Cooper for as much as I can get.
Right. And it's a really difficult spot for people who have Amari Cooper, just because he only got, 2 catches that entire game, so it's going to be difficult to sell high, more or less.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper owners are in a difficult spot. I am one of them, so I'm trying to figure out where to go from there. I think he can still bounce back with Andy Dalton and maybe give you another good week next week. But it looked like Gallup was pretty seen, I guess, by Andy Dalton. CeeDee Lamb had a great game, so it's going to be interesting moving forward. I have no idea how it's going to shake out. I do think Zeke's going to get a lot of work. You could try to sell those receivers high. CeeDee Lamb I think is a great sell high right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even Gallup, because Gallup had a pretty good game, but it's gonna be tough to sell Cooper after his performance this week, and then Andy Dalton taking over.
Love it. Okay, I think I agree with you there. Anything on the Giants? Quick notes. I thought Devontae Freeman looked actually pretty quick. Watching the game, like he actually looked pretty good. 2 catches, 27 yards. Got 60 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Like they are mind blowing numbers, but I think he's going to be great for. I think he's going to be great for people looking for maybe a running back in the flex, or in a few weeks when the buys hit hard. I think he's going to be perfect to just plug.
Great fill-in option for sure if you need it.
Yeah, and then lastly, Darius Slayton, 8 catches, 129 yards, and 11 targets in a great matchup, of course, against Dallas. But what do you think about him moving forward? He's an interesting one.
I like Slayton. I think it's going to be hard to trust the Giants' passing offense. I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy there. I don't think he's accurate all the time. He had some incredible catches. I do believe in the talent of Darius Slayton. I don't know how confident I am in like an every week guy. I think I'd start him every week. I do think that. But I don't know how confident I would be.
Okay, that's fair. Yep, that's worth noting. I think he took advantage of a good matchup. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next game. Let's go ahead and talk about the Panthers and Falcons with the rebirth of Todd Gurley. He kind of went off in this game, of course. I played him this week, so that makes sense. 14 carries for 121 yards and a touchdown. On top of that, 4 catches for 29 yards on 5 targets. You think this was just a good matchup against Carolina, or is he kind of getting comfortable in Atlanta's offense?
It's pretty hard to say. I think it was a good matchup, obviously. And I haven't really believed in Todd Gurley up to this point, but he did look good. He was turning corners hard and hitting the edge. I don't know what their schedule in the future looks like, but if it's a good one, I like Gurley. I think it is really schedule dependent, matchup dependent
For
for
sure.
Gurley.
I think he's a matchup based play.
I don't like him every week, obviously. But
All right, now walk me through. We saw that Robbie Anderson once again out targeted DJ Moore, and it wasn't particularly close. Anderson had 13 targets, 8 catches for 112 yards. Uh, sorry. Yes, that's correct. And then DJ Moore had 4 catches for 93 yards, but got the touchdown on 5 targets. So I think here's where I'm at with this. I think I'm finally at peace with the fact that Robbie Anderson is the number one target on this offense. But I think they can coexist and both put up numbers. I don't think it has to be a one or the other thing. I think it can be a 1A, 1B situation where the Panthers are throwing the ball so much because of that defense. That weak defense, they're going to be playing a lot of catch up. They're going to be throwing a lot. Teddy Bridgewater has shown competence as a quarterback. He's looked pretty good this year. I think that Anderson will, get the benefit here of being the first look. But I think DJ Moore owners shouldn't feel like they wasted a pick. I think he's going to be underperforming based on what you were expecting coming into the season. But I still think DJ Moore can put up respectable numbers, getting, he looks like he's getting some of those deeper targets this year, whereas he was kind of the possession, short, nickel and dime, short yardage, kind of peppered with targets guy last year. So what do you think about those two guys moving forward?
we can do a good or bad here on DJ Moore.
All right, DJ Moore, good or bad? 1, 2, 3.
Where's my thumb? There it is. There.
The worst part is I get it. I get where you're coming from, and that hurts me as a DJ Moore truther.
Listen, DJ Moore, we expected a breakout year. It hasn't happened. I don't think it's going to happen with Robbie Anderson there. It's just the targets. That's one thing that made DJ Moore great last year. Is he was getting 7, 8, 9 targets a game. He's not getting those this year. He got 5 this game, and he had the touchdown, 57 yards. But even that was a screen that he took to the house. He's not getting necessarily those like deep shots or anything like that. He happens to be an athlete, and so he might take advantage of some of those. But take that away, and he's got 3 receptions for 50 yards. I mean, it's not playable.
I think it's worth asking you the question then. Would you rather have DJ Moore or Henry Ruggs the rest of the season?
I mean, for me, it's tough. It is. That's tough. I think for right now, I'd still rather have DJ Moore. But
Thank you.
But I mean, it's if Ruggs starts getting this like more targets, I mean, I might start leaning the other way. But for now, I want DJ Moore.
Okay, I think this week is kind of a lot of what we can expect for DJ Moore. Maybe 5 catches. Even if he doesn't get the touchdown, I think around 9 or 10 points in PPR is like a good expectation for him, and then maybe he gets the touchdown. But I'm still hopeful. I think maybe he's seeing the air yards, he's seeing deeper targets than he was last year. I'm still hopeful that he can still produce even with Robbie Anderson, fine, all conceded, being the first target in the offense.
Yeah, Steven, I don't want to make this harder than it needs to be, but this was against Atlanta, so this is pretty much as good as it's gonna get.
that is a good point. I think anyone listening, just like you might need to plug your ears when I talk about DJ Moore. I'm so biased on this topic, I can't even shake it. So yeah, this was the matchup for him to go off, and he didn't. So maybe I'm just crazy, but I think for me, that's everything I wanted to talk about with this game. I mean, Calvin Ridley doing Calvin Ridley things. I think he's cemented himself as a top 10 receiving option this year. Anything else you want to touch on?
Right. I think that's it. Yeah, hopefully Julio comes back next week, so we have something else aside from Calvin to talk about. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. What do you want to talk about here?
Got a couple more games. Colts Browns. Anything to talk about there?
Genuinely really don't care about this game. Philip Rivers didn't look great. 2 picks. T.Y. Hilton had his best game of the year, which isn't saying much.
Right.
Man, they keep trying to feed Trey Burton. I guess the coaching staff is really into Trey Burton. 6 targets, which is tied for right behind T.Y. Hilton, or second on the team in targets. Trey Burton, his second week back. But I think I'm just reaching here. I don't think there's anything I'm excited to talk about this game.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taylor's a always. I mean, he's a good play, obviously, but like the passing game is nothing I want to write home about on the Colts. The Browns. I mean, Kareem Hunt's balling, man. He's. I love Kareem Hunt this year.
Yeah, me too. Especially with Chubb out. Quick good or bad for you, OBJ.
What was
All
the
right.
stat line? Hold on. What was the stat line? What are we looking at?
He had 5 catches for 58 yards on 9 targets.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Really?
Ooh,
I
interesting.
In Stefanski's offense, I just don't think he's gonna get the volume he needs to be producing, especially with Baker throwing those balls.
Interesting. Yeah, I think he's going to be. I mean, not like wide receiver one necessarily, but like easy wide receiver two play. I mean,
Okay.
I think he's good enough for it. He's at the very least he's got the talent. You know, he's
Hmm.
incredibly talented. I mean, even threw a decent pass. He had Austin Hooper get walloped, but it was a decent
Yeah.
pass. But
Okay.
I like OBJ.
Okay. Fair. I mean, he's one of my favorite receivers in the league. I just think
Right.
in this offense, I think they're trying to let Baker Mayfield game manage more than anything. Put him in play action situations where he can make high percentage throws, but I think OBJ has the talent to take a simple slant to the house. So I think you're right in the sense that he can make do with those targets.
Right.
Let's move on
Um,
to Rams football team. The
uh,
only thing that jumped off the page here was I was ready to go to war with you for Logan Thomas, but I think this might 1 catch for 4 yards and 4 targets. This might have been the game that closed the book for me personally.
yeah, it's to be fair, Dwayne Haskins went out with a stomach bug or something like that. I mean, and then they went with Kyle Allen who got hurt, and then they went with the return of Alex Smith, which was amazing to see. He
Amazing,
didn't
yeah.
he didn't have a great game, obviously against Aaron Donald. It's just tough to come in like that, but
Hey,
loved to see him
Steven.
out there. That was awesome. Yeah,
Hi, Steven.
Hey, how's it going,
Susan
Mrs. Mo?
Forte. Uh, didn't call that one. So he didn't have a great game, obviously, with Aaron Donald, but it was great to see him out there. Loved it. But I mean, not very productive for the offense. Um, outside of Gibson getting 5 targets, 5 catches. I mean, that's at least a bright spot.
Yeah, I think it's Washington offense. McLaurin and Gibson are your only options.
Yeah. Do you like
Um,
McLaurin moving forward if it's Alex Smith or Kyle Allen?
To be honest with you, I've never been the biggest. Like, I think McLaurin, real life, super talented, but on Washington's team, I've never felt like he's really excited me given the quarterback play ever since he joined the team hasn't been anything
Yeah.
spectacular. I mean, 3 catches for 26 yards on this one on 7 targets. I think you're going to see a lot of that where he's heavily targeted, but isn't just getting quality targets. So
Yeah, I
I
don't
think,
entirely know the deal on Haskins, but I think when Haskins comes back, he's back to normal. But and
well,
normal being,
Haskins got benched.
oh, he got
Haskins is
benched.
done.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, I was hearing some reports of like a stomach thing, but
No, he
if
got he got benched middle of the week. The coaching staff said, "All right, it's Kyle Allen moving forward." I actually have some info on this if you want to hear it.
sure, yeah,
So apparently, yeah, halfway through the week, Haskins got benched. And they moved him down a third on the depth chart, like not even second. They're basically saying that they're done with him. Like
yeah.
Haskins is done as the quarterback in Washington. Basically, it had a lot to do with his personality. Like didn't have good study habits, wasn't working hard to prepare for games. Like Alex Smith, the third string quarterback at the time, was preparing harder for games. Or like, what exactly is he doing? He kind of had kind of a personality thing. On top of that, he was stat bragging apparently in the locker room after throwing for 300 yards against the Ravens and a loss. So that didn't rub off well on his teammates.
Mm-mm.
Were like, "Why are you bragging about throwing for 300 yards when we lost the game?" Then you remember going back to last season when he took a selfie with a fan like during the game before the final whistle blew. I think
Yes.
he's just he's kind of I think he basically just needs a change of scenery. Like I think his time in Washington. Apparently, he was drafted in part due to the owner being the owner's kids actually went to the high school where Dwayne Haskins was a standout
Oh
in high
wow.
school. So I think from what I hear within the organization, I was reading about this today. It was kind of like the owner handpicked Haskins, kind of bias there.
Yeah.
But he was really into Haskins, whereas the Rivera regime coming in is more of a Kyle Allen fan. He knows how to run their system.
Right.
And apparently Haskins is almost a lock to get dealt before the deadline. So that's interesting to keep an eye on. Apparently,
For sure.
his camp was asking for that, so we'll see.
Yeah, keep an eye on McLaurin. I don't know how I like him with Kyle Allen. We'll see if it's Alex Smith. You also just don't know. So McLaurin's kind of up in the air for me then at this time.
That's fair.
On the Rams side, Darrell Henderson had a pretty good game. Woods and Cup, and Higbee just not great.
Yeah, I think you're seeing a really run-heavy offense here. Goff threw for 30 times, threw the ball 30 times this game, which was high for him this year. I think they've just been so run-heavy. I think they want to do similar to what Cleveland's doing, put Goff in play action. I mean, if you watch the game, Goff, whenever he throws the ball, is almost always on play action. Like McVay knows.
No, they run play action so much.
Which is so smart. McVay is just a smart coach. Yeah, I think there's nothing really to say here except it seems like Darrell Henderson is back in favor with McVay. I know they're doing a whole committee thing, but he gets back to 15 carries. And then 3 catches for 30 yards there. So Darrell Henderson
two total touchdowns. That's
nice.
Keep starting Woods, keep starting Cup. Hope for a score. I mean, it's more or less what you do. And Higbee, I wouldn't be starting Higbee at this point in time.
Yeah, Higbee is just going to be way too inconsistent to trust week to week.
Right. Especially with their weird tight end packages and all that kind of thing.
Speaking of tight ends, Mike Gesicki on the Dolphins has me super hyped. He paced the team in targets with 6, caught 5 balls for 91 yards, the long of which was a freaking 70-yard catch. How you like them apples, Tucker? My bet on Gesicki finally paid off. I think he was like the tight end 4 on the week right now.
Yeah. So listen, I like Gesicki. I was saying I was unsure if he was a tight end 10 or higher. I do think he's gonna hit that, and that's why I didn't take that bet. By the way, you were like, hey, dues.
Yeah.
But I like Gesicki. I just don't necessarily like the Dolphins. Not yet. I think they're on the rise, but this was a really good game for Fitzmagic. A really good game for the Dolphins. Unfortunately, Devontae Parker couldn't pull out anything more than two catches in the touchdown or something like that. But Gesicki, looked great. I think he's an every week start right now. Hopefully he can hold up that pace. That's my take on that.
Mind you, this was a guy going up against the 31st ranked tight end defense. So he had a really tough matchup this week, and he still put up numbers. I'm like back in. You'll hate to hear this. I almost benched him for Logan Thomas this week, which would have been the definition of getting cute. I'm so happy I didn't do that. But for my fellow Gesicki gang, hang in there. It seems like he's really. They're still getting him involved. He had 2 bad weeks, 1 catch for 15 yards in 2 straight weeks. But he had six targets in this one, and when Fitzpatrick only threw the ball 28 times. So I think Gesicki has room to grow. He's going to be a little inconsistent, but I think he's still a tight end 1.
Yeah, and then on the 49ers side of the ball, just everything looked terrible. I mean, I heard this. I was watching the game. Did you know that Garoppolo at one point, like in the second quarter or something before he got benched, had a 15 passer rating? 15.
I didn't know that.
He was horrible. And they benched him and put Beathard in. So we will. I don't know. I don't like anything there right now. Obviously Kittle, I guess, but other than that, I don't know.
What about Raheem Mostert not getting any love? Come on.
Sure.
11 carries for 90 yards. He's in his first game back from injury.
Mostert's a talent for sure.
The fear was that McKinnon was going to be worked into the offense and take away Mostert's value, but McKinnon had 1 rush, And Mostert also is getting involved in the passing game. 3 catches for 29 yards. I think Mostert's a solid running back too.
I
Solid
mean, yeah,
running back.
you gotta like it for a running back too, I guess. He's just really fast, really athletic. I mean, he's gonna get it done. He's gonna get it done. He's not my ideal. I mean, for an RB2, absolutely, I'll take it. But
Yeah.
like, yeah,
High
I
end
don't.
flex.
I just, yeah, definitely. I don't love 49ers running backs. It's not my shtick, I guess. But he's really talented, so no problem with it necessarily.
Word. Let's see. Where are we at with? Uh, is that all? Oh, we have one. I think we have one more game. Correct me if I'm wrong. Jags Texans. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
And this
Uh,
one, we also have a player we're gonna be battling over. Laviska
maybe.
Shenault, 7 catches for 79 yards on 8 targets. Why do you hate him, Tucker?
I don't hate Laviska Shenault. I don't. I just when I watch him play and like see his usage, he seems Curtis Samuel-y, and those players just never work out for fantasy.
I knew you were gonna say that, and I prepared an argument. I knew you were gonna say that.
However, uh, I think my opinion is changing. If DJ Chark can't stay healthy, Laviska Shenault's going to thrive. If DJ Chark does stay healthy, I think the opposite. You know, it really depends on Chark for me. But what's your argument here against?
I think my main argument here is people keep comparing him to like Denard Robinson. You know, these versatile guys who can
Mhm.
rush the ball, they can catch the ball, built kind of in between a running back and a receiver.
Yeah.
But for every Denard Robinson, there's a freaking Anquan Bolden who's like Chenault's direct comparison. That's like what everyone compares him to. He is the same exact build as Anquan Bolden.
All right, hang on. We need to fix something real fast. For every Denard Robinson, there's an Anquan Bolden. Is such a bad statement. Excuse me.
Okay, all right. That's
That's
not.
what you prepared.
Okay, no. What I prepared was, yeah. Everyone wants to think, oh, he's a Curtis Samuel, he's a Denard Robinson. They take just because these guys have two-way talent doesn't mean you have to put them in this bucket of guys who aren't successfully utilized. Think about Deebo Samuel, who's being correctly utilized, who fits that same exact category, who's also in a run-heavy offense and still doing great. Had a great season last season. Laviska Shenault is being used in a similar manner as Deebo Samuel, who personally, that's who Laviska says he compares his game most to, who's currently in the NFL right now. Jags are using him all over formations. They're getting him more and more involved each week. 8 targets this week. Especially, you're right, especially if Chark misses time, he's going to be insane. But I think he's cemented himself as the second option in that passing offense, even with DJ Chark in the fold. And that's something I want to be a part of. You know how much they're going to throw the ball being down so much, and Minshew is shown that he's more than competent in airing it out in garbage time. I'm all in on Laviska Shenault.
Interesting. I'm gonna say the opposite for now, and unless Chark's injuries seem to be more severe, I'm gonna say
Good or
nada.
bad? Good or bad? Laviska Shenault, so I can clip this when he has a blow up week 3 weeks from now. All right,
What if I'm
Laviska.
just wrong on all of my takes? All right.
You are. Okay.
We'll see.
All right.
Historically, yes, I am. All right.
Laviska Shenault, is he good or bad? 1, 2, 3. So
Bad.
freaking good. I can't wait to screenshot it. Yeah. Oh man.
Maybe next year, kiddo.
Okay. Why the heck do you have James Robinson over? Yeah. Tell me this. Why do you have James Robinson over Joe Mixon?
That one's
makes
mostly
no
eye
sense.
test. I'll say like James Robinson has looked really good. He has a nose for the end zone, and he's the. I mean, I don't know. He's just. That's a good question, actually. That I don't know that I can even answer it, but I think he looks better. I think he just looks better. It's a lot of eye test, honestly. He's
Okay.
He's
I
also
think he
just
does
been
look
more
really good.
consistent. I think he's looked a lot more consistent overall, and that's something I maybe not so much this week, I guess, but every other week. Every other week he's looked a lot better.
I think on the Texans side of the ball, Brandon Cooks, I guess, is a thing again. Did not see that coming.
Yeah.
8 catches, 160 yards, and a touchdown on 12 freaking targets. Wow.
How do we feel about Brandon Cooks?
You know, I just can't. I can't bring myself to buy in.
I think I'm a bad. Yeah, I just
Okay, yeah, I'm
he,
about
he
to.
had a he had a he had a good week, but I mean nothing the week before. Nothing. You know,
Yeah, I think
it's
it could
not
be
something I
Cooks
want to
this
risk.
week, Stills the next week, Cobb the week after that. Like
Right.
outside of Fuller, I view Cook, Stills, and Cobb as like basically a revolving. I was looking for the phrase, a revolving door of like productive wideouts in that offense. Like I think each one will have a good week every 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah. Fuller's the only guy I really want to invest in like every week there.
Yeah, same.
All right. So I
Uh,
believe that wraps up our games for the week, all of our recaps. Um, anything else you want to do, Steve?
um, is there anyone you're looking to buy after watching these games? Like, is there anyone you're trying to buy low on right now?
Um, I think Devonta Freeman's a good buy. Um,
Hmm.
I think he's still new to this offense, but he will come around to it. And he looked really good for his usage. I think if he gets more, he's gonna look. I mean, he could be a game changer. I mean, even
Yeah, he's
Barkley
cheap too.
Barkley can produce theirs. I think Freeman's good enough to do it as well.
Okay. I think
Any for you?
for me, man, I honestly would still be buying Clyde Edwards Elaire. I've heard that H is silent, but I would still be buying him. I mean, in that offense, he's the unquestioned RB1. You're like you said, he's getting the goal line opportunities. I think we're eventually going to see his massive breakout. For some reason, it didn't happen this week, but that whole offense was a little bit out of sync. I think CEH's time is coming, and right now, I think you can get him for a very reasonable price.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know how much longer I can justify holding out on him being this explosive top five performer that I came into the season expecting him to be, but I think right now you can get him for cheaper than what he will be the rest of the season.
yeah, definitely. I think you can get some owners who are pretty frustrated and try to take advantage of that. I mean, it's gonna be hard to get running backs right now. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely try to buy low on some and maybe give them one that looks like it might have upside, that kind of thing. Um, yeah, yeah. And then probably honestly, I think I'd buy Chase Edmonds big time. I mean, I don't. I think he's going to take over all that work soon. I really do. If he gets Kenyon Drake's carries, it's over. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because he's a really good player.
I'm with that. I like that. It's a good take.
Any big sells?
I'm selling, like you said. I would say Amari Cooper, but you can't sell adequately right now because he had a bad game. I'd say CD Lamb. I don't see Andy Dalton supporting four weapons between Lamb, Cooper, Gallup, and Schultz.
Hmm.
I think Zeke is kind of going to be the focal point of that offense again. So I'd be trying to get rid of CD Lamb on the tails of that impressive kind of breakout game.
Yeah. I think I'm just to reiterate this one. I think I'm selling Joe Mixon. I would love to get great value out of Joe Mixon while he's looking decent. Just
So
I just
rude, man. So rude. I can't
I
take
just
more of this.
I just think it's about to go downhill for him. He's got a lot of tough matchups back to back, and he's not going to be good for those. But if you can get rid of him after one very good performance, albeit, and a bad one, well, decent one, I guess, this past week, a lot of receptions, but like I just can't get on board with that. And I think you can get some great value from him. Maybe for like a who knows, running backs are really scarce. You might be able to get a DeAndre Hopkins for him, and that would be awesome.
Fair. Would you give up Joe Mixon for Edwards Elaire?
Straight up, I'm not sure. I don't running back for running back is kind of cheeky. I think I'd probably trade if I was going to trade Mixon. It'd be for like a top tier tight end and a good wide receiver or something like that.
Mm, okay, that's fair. Okay, I think that's everything we wanted to cover today.
Yeah, a
Hour and 15 minutes. Lengthy first one,
little long.
but a fun one for sure. Anyone who ever sees this, thank you for tuning in to our first ever episode of Lineup Legends. Oh, there we go.
Ooh, nice, nice. Yeah.
And Tucker, I'll see you tomorrow for our waiver show,
Sounds
where you're
great,
going to
man.
be hearing a lot about Mr. LaVisca Chanel. So come prepared.
Awesome. Talk to you tomorrow, my
All
dude.
right. See you, man.
We out.